2:6. Oh, Parama Karuna,
things on schedule. Okay. You say hello to all Bhajans, so that'd be nice.
There's a song by Shrivan Marshall.
Giriraj, yeah. It's in the beginning.
Yes.
We should
I was
at
just
least
thinking
do
about
that.
I was just thinking about that one.
At least that one.
Yes.
Is it 30, page 32? Yeah.
Who knows the tune so well? What page is it on?
32. Jaya Jaya Giriraj Aratika Shobha Jaya Jaya
Jai Giriraj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai. Govardhan Puja Ki Jai.
Jai.
That song is actually so beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm asked to say something today, but Govardhan, lifting the Govardhan hill and all the wonderful healers. But we will read maybe Govardhan English translation of each verse. It's also the first one. Jai Shri Bhakti, Sandhya Govinda Dev Goswami Raj Ki Jai, Jai Shri Bhakti, Nirmala Dev Goswami Raj Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti, Rakha Shri Dev Goswami Raj Ki Jai, Jai devotees Ki Jai. So it's Jaya Giri Raja Aratika Shobha, Sri Braja Mandala Maja Jagamana Loba. All glories to the beautiful arti of Sri Giri Raj, which is going on in Sri Braj Mandal, attracting the minds of all living entities of the universe. So, Priya?
Lord Sri Radharaman, Krishna who gives pleasure to his beloved Srimati Radharani, is eternally playing his joyful loving pastimes there in the association of the Sakhis of Srimati Radharani.
Here, deep within the groves of Malati flowers and Malavi creepers, the confidential pastimes of charming Lord Hari are going on.
Within this holy place are Shama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Kushuma Sharovar, Manasa Ganga, and Dana Khati.
With Sri Govinda Kunda, these holy places of divine pastimes are within limit. Day and night, the devotees are performing circumambulation and worship.
Shuddha Swami Seva Ashram Parama Shobhana Jata Nitya Seva Kore Sarasvata Gana. Here there is the supreme beautiful Sridhar Swami Seva Ashram, where devotees of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat performing their eternal service.
Srimad Mahaprabhu gave Sri Sri Giriraj Ju to Sri Raghunath Goswami so that Sri Das Goswami could worship his lordship, knowing him to be none different from Krishna.
The devotees of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat worship Sri Sri Giriraj in deep mood of devotion in remembrance of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami.
All glories to Sri Giri Govardhan, who is the abode of divine rasa, and the shelter of Shri Rupa, Sanatan, Jiva, and Raghunath Goswamis.
The beauty of the arati of Sri Giriraj Jew, which is rare and precious, is being seen by Lord Indra, Narada Muni, Lord Shiva, Shukadev Goswami, and all the great personalities.
Sri Sri Giriraju is eternally manifested as both the worshipful Lord and the servitor Lord. His fallen servant sees the arti of Sri Giriraju with great ecstasy. Jai. So that gives the flavour of what's so high in this Govardhan.
Can I just say one thing? This song is perfect in every way. Not because I say so, but because it is. I'm getting a glimpse of that.
Yes.
Feeling.
The feeling that,
Just,
and the humility and the love and devotion of Srila Govinda Maharaj composing this arti. And perfect Sanskrit. The highest understanding of Sanskrit. Because he's such a wonderful surrendered soul. I've mentioned this before. There's a tendency, I don't wish to make any offence here, but there's a tendency to consider Srila Govinda Maharaj as perhaps not as high as the other artists. This is not correct for the other acharyas. And his understanding of Sanskrit is incomparable. The greatest Sanskrit scholar of the last 50 years of the 20th century was Dr. Dol Gobind Shastri. He was Gurudev's main Sanskrit teacher. And I remember being in Jagannath Puri, I had the great honour and privilege sitting with him. There is Dr. Dol Gobind Shastri, this sweet, glowing effulgence from this sweet devotee, disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who was so gentle and so sweet. And Gurudev was sitting in his chair with his desk, and I'm sitting there and they're talking. And I'm wondering whether I should be sitting there. And they said, "Oh, Gurudev says stay, And I said, "Oh, you're talking Sanskrit?" "Yes." I didn't realise because that, the language is. And I thought it might have been Urrian, but it wasn't. They were talking in Sanskrit, conversing like we are conversing now. And I asked Dr. Govind, says, "Oh, he was talking." "Yes," he says, "We've been discussing one shloka that I taught him when he was a young boy. And now he's given me 15 explanations of this, different explanations of this different shloka, and that's what we've been discussing." And I thought, whoa. So, just to hear that gives us some idea of the importance of the Sadguru. And so he's a perfect Sanskrit poetry and can convey that depth of that bhava that's there in that song, which you can get a glimpse of. You understand that Srila Govinda Maharaj Jai Gurudev was just an extraordinary soul. Anyhow, so there's many things written about Giri Govardhan, but I would say, from one shloka, first, there's one shloka here, it talks about how the arti is still going on beautifully in Sri Govardhan and the Seva Ashram there. And I was fortunate to be there in 1998 during that entire, when it was still being completed and built, and we went there a number of times. What a manifestation of it. And when they were there initially, when they were taking up, they built the Seva Ashram. They had not built the temple. Gurudev always built the ashram first, and had a small temple in the ashram, and then built the main ashram. This was his mood, trying to get the devotees could have the benefit of being there as soon as possible. And they self-manifested huge Giri Govardhan Shila came. And you know about this, I guess.
I heard about that,
Yeah.
It's very
Wow.
special.
And there was one girl, one 9-year-old girl, we discovered this, Dambasi girl. Suddenly there's this, we hadn't started worshiping actually because we wanted it in the main temple and then properly done. But there was some flowers had been given and candles had been lit, and nobody could figure out what was going on, what was doing. And there was this one 9-year-old girl, 9-year-old girl doing it, some Dambasi, but who was this girl? We discovered Gurudev did not reveal too much. He said, "Oh, she's a local Dambasi girl." Who was this girl? Oh, who was this girl? I'm thinking, right? So I can't say anything more than that. But that was such a blessing. It was so uplifting, that, wow. I was a bit less conscious than I am now, a bit more dense and dumb and dull, because I'm so evolving, coming out of the Mayic influence, and I couldn't really understand fully what it was going on, but over the years I've reflected. And Gurudev was so humble, there's a main Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan temple there in Govardhan, and he wanted to call it Anu Govardhan. He just kept it, in out of respect for the main temple, so he kept it smallish. Anyhow, it talks in the song in the song here about Raghunath Das Goswami, how he worshipped Giri Govardhan. He circumambulated Giri Govardhan every day, and that was his worship. And as he got older, he couldn't do it. He felt great remorse. He felt great unhappiness. And then, mercifully, his intervention by higher power, he was told in a dream, I believe, to worship to circumambulate in Radha Damodar temple. That would be the equivalent of him circumambulating Govardhan Hill. So this is very high. Raghunath Das Goswami, as you know, is the Acharya of Raja Dasyam, the highest understanding. He says in here, in this, I'll give you the exact words. He's so surrendered and so devoted. He's personal training by Sarup Damodar, who's the extension of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when he comes to the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu, he is trained by Sarup Damodar. He has that association. Then he goes to Vrindavan and learns under Das Kaviraj and the others, the Rupa, Sanatan, whatever. But here he is saying, there is a hope which is sustaining me and nurturing my existence. Without hope, I am somehow passing my days. But my patience has reached its end. I can't endure it any longer. At this moment, if you do not show your grace to me, Sri Radha, I shall lose my prospect forever. I shall have no desire to continue my life. Vrindavan, which is even dearer to me than my life itself, I am disgusted with it. And what to speak of anything else? I am even disgusted with Krishna. It is shameful to utter such words. But I can have no love even for Krishna until you take me into your confidential camp of service. Such is a plea to Srimati Radharani from the Acharya of Radha Dasyam. Right? So the sloka is Vilapa Kushan, from the Vilapa Kushmanjali. Ashabarayar Amrita Sindhu Maya Katanchit Kalo Maya Tingamati Tingam Mitaha Kila Sampratam Ki Tvam Chit Kripa Mai Vida Yasi Naiva Kimme Pranay Raja Na Cha Varoru Bakarinapi. That's the sloka. If you do not show your grace to me, I'm finished. I shall lose my prospect forever. I shall have no desire to continue my life. It will all be useless without your grace. I can't stand to live another moment. And he goes on to this plea, this lowliness, this incredible hankering. There's no way to describe it. Desperation, heartfelt ache. Please give me your service. Please bestow your love and mercy upon me. So understand that this Govardhan Puja and Govardhan Leela is extremely high. Very high indeed. Krishna is there, Radha Raman, he who gives pleasure and brings ecstasy out in Radharani. Is dancing there with Radharani. So, king of the cows, Krishna takes such a humble position, we know this. Krishna takes this position, the supreme lord of all that be, maintainer of the creator, maintainer of the universe. And he takes a humble position. Who can understand it? The most humble position, as a mere gopa, a cowherd boy. So wonderful, so sweet. And the cows, significance of the cows. Understand, I want you to look background to this Leela. When Mahaprabhu is in Gambhira, right? And he's behind 3 locked doors in Gambhira, that room. And his servant Govinda is outside, always sleeps outside the door protecting him. And Sarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy have gone to take rest for the night. And he goes to give Mahaprabhu some, I would say aperitif, but something for this night, some drink or some little something, and finds that Mahaprabhu has gone, disappeared, and he calls Srupa Damodar and Ramananda Roy. Despite all that locked, somehow the Lord has got out. And they search for him, right? They search for him. And they find him in the Talanga district of just outside the Simadvara of the Raghunath temple. And he's sleeping amongst the cows. He's apparently sleeping, but he's actually unconscious. And he's withdrawn his limbs into his body, because he's a transcendental body, right? It's not like our body. He's experienced the highest form of bhava in this. He's shaped like a tortoise, that thing. So, understanding that this Leela is very, very high, we'll be discussing. It's the highest form of bhava, and it's connected with Govardhan, Sri Govardhan. This is the deepest understanding of this. May that Lord of the cows be satisfied by us. Who is Indra when compared to Krishna? Krishna is the master of Indra, yet he has appeared as the master of the cows. The supreme absolute truth has accepted his simple position as the keeper of the cows. Superficially, he is a mere coward boy, but let that coward boy, who holds within him the power of controlling the whole universe, be satisfied with us. We want to worship that Lord, who has taken a humble position, the king of the cows. In about 35 minutes, I want to say a lot, so I may just précis this and say, sum it up. I'll leave out the Sanskrit shlokas. The very gist, the essence, the very aspect of it, of the Govardhan Leela, the very substance of the pastime is represented in the verse, which I'm not going to quote. It's from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 26th chapter, text 25, if people want to reference it. We've only got 35 minutes. So. The milkmen in Vrindavan used to observe a sacrifice to satisfy the King of Heaven. We know this, we've learned it many times. Indra, at whose command the rain, clouds, and other subtle elementary powers move. The main wealth of the coward men is the cow, and the cow's main food is grass. Only rain can produce grass, and so the coward men used to perform sacrifice to satisfy the subtle power who is supposed to be in command of the natural substances like rain. By satisfying Indra, favourable rains would come, and there would be sufficient grass. The cows then graze easily on the grass and generate milk profusely. The gopas, the coward men, and their families used to make different preparations from the milk, sell them in the marketplace. In that way, earn their livelihood. We know this very basic understanding. Wait. As the grazing ground in one place was finished, they would move from one forest to another, only for the purpose of obtaining grass for the cows. Krishna's father Nanda Maharaj and the coward men would wander from one place to the next. In this way they lived sometimes in Vrindavan, and sometimes in Nandagram, and sometimes Gokul. Once Krishna wanted to assert himself and modify the worship of Indra. He wanted to establish his own domain, Vrinda, in his pristine glory. And these cows, if you ever see the forest cows, they're unlike anything. I think I can say in some ways, perhaps, don't know if that's just, perhaps they are the most beautiful cows I've ever seen. They look like deer, large deer, spots on them, unbelievable. Even the material eye, which with I'm seeing, I'm thinking, my goodness me, what is this? Never seen anything like it in your life. So once Krishna wanted to, although he was only a boy, he was a boy of extraordinary capacity. He was only 7 years old, but in the Padma Purana it is stated that the development or growth of special personalities is 1.5 times that of an ordinary person. Though Krishna was only 7 years old, by ordinary calculation, he was even 11 according to general calculation. Krishna said, why should we perform this sacrifice to Indra? We have a direct concern with Govardhan Hill and not Indra. Who was this Indra fellow? He announced this idea to the Gopas, and somehow, willingly or reluctantly, the Gopas submitted to the advice of Krishna. Nanda Maharaj was influenced by affection for his son. And because he was the king, he told them, this time we shall worship Govardhan Hill and not Indra. So some Gopas, well, it says it here, I'll read it out. So the Gopas, the milkmen of Vrindavan, followed Krishna's advice, some reluctantly, some willingly, because we're not worshiping Indra. Vedic, not performing this Vedic sacrifice. But they were persuaded. This news reached Indra, thought himself, a boy of special capacity lives there. Now he has taken the leadership of Vrindavan and stopped this ancient sacrifice to me. For a long time it was the tradition of the Gopas to perform sacrifice to satisfy me. Now this boy is the cause of stopping my sacrifice. He was very much enraged. He was. Indra ordered the clouds and the wind and the lightning to attack the residents of Vrindavan. It's not like something, like a thunderstorm here. This is like a storm of unimaginable intensity. A thunderstorm 100 times max. The most powerful and most dangerous clouds and lightning bolts are used to attack Govardhan. His pride is so pricked, and he becomes enraged. According to Vedic understanding, all the elements are personified. In ancient days, the Aryans and Raja Rishis, elevated human beings and great sages, used to see everything as persons. They saw everything in a personal way. They thought of the creepers, the trees, and everything else in the environment as persons. They understood that they were all persons who, according to karma, are wandering through the different species of life. We can't see this because we have such dull consciousness. Once I was asked by a professor of biology about alternatives to Darwinian evolution. I advised him that evolution from consciousness to matter may be understood on the basis of Berkeley's theory. This is George Berkeley was, I think his name was George Berkeley, was an Irish Christian who understood some aspect of this. And Srila Guru Maharaj used to use him to introduce people. This is not just an idea that's foreign to Westerners. When coming from the Vedic religion, people have seen it even in your culture. So he'd use what he could. Well, someone could say that in the same way he used Hegel and others to actually try to get some educated people to understand. Whatever you think of is really part of our consciousness. And consciousness means person. Everything that we may be consciousness is a person. We may think that the wind as an inanimate object, but it was thought of in the Vedic line as a person. Lightning, wind, clouds and rain are all persons. Whatever we consider to be elementary matter, gross and subtle, were all considered by the ancient seers of the truth to be persons. Indra commanded the wind, the clouds and the rain to go to devastate the whole of Goloka Vrindavan. The residents of Vrindavan have insulted me, he said. They have rejected me and stopped worshipping me. They're instead worshipping that mountain. That mountain. That's how he referred to it, right? It's not different from Krishna, right? The hill of Govardhan, I can't tolerate it, this insult. Go and devastate them. By the order and wrath of Indra, the master of all the high subtle elements, heavy rain began to fall. And so thunder, hail and rain simultaneously attacked the whole of Rajmandal. It was a devastation like that. Like the Great Flood, whatever, it's just worse. Consequently, all the residents of Vrindavan were thrown into great disaster. Misery, pain and sorrow afflicted the animals and protectors of the animals, the Gopalas. So the helpless, the women, children and animals of Vrindavan had no alternative but to take refuge of Krishna. They all came to Krishna for relief. They cried, "Oh Krishna, now what are we to do? You influenced us to stop the sacrifice meant for Indra. Now Indra, being vindictive, has begun to afflict us in this way, this very heavy way. How can we live? Save us, please save us." They all came to Krishna for protection. Seeing this, Krishna had much pity for them. Being merciful upon him, he smiled a little, thinking, "They have all come to me for relief." Jai, welcome. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Nandavasti all. Hare Krishna. Nandavasti. So I'll continue. So Krishna says, protection. Seeing this, Krishna had very much pity for them. Being merciful upon them, he smiled a little, thinking, they've all come to me for relief. As the rain is coming down, there's torrential flooding, and devastation, lightning, Indra's wrath. It was great. And they're very frightened. At the time, with only one hand, Krishna lifted up the Govardhan mountain. For him, it was an easy thing. With only one hand, he uprooted the hill and lifted it up as a child lifts a toy ball, and he held it up with a pinky finger. And there's sweet pastimes there. It's quite lifted up. It's only so high, and it's still the gopas and the gopis are a bit concerned that it's going to come down. They're pushing up their sticks, which they heard the cows to hold the hill up. It's so sweet, so sweet. And anyhow, we'll continue reading it. We all know the pastime, but it's wonderful to relish it. And holding up that great mountain, Krishna gave protection to all those who were living in Gokul. The men, women and children of Vrindavan brought the cows and all their worldly goods and took shelter beneath Govardhan Hill. The whole cowherd society was given shelter under that hill. In this way, by the lifting of Govardhan Hill, Krishna gave protection to the residents of Vrindavan and crushed the pride of the Lord of heaven, Indra himself. And this storm went on for 7 days, right? Until he finally gives up. Indra gives up. But anyway. So Narendra prays in this verse, may that Lord of the cows be satisfied by us. Who is Indra when compared to Krishna? Krishna is the master of Indra. And yet he's appeared as the master of the cows. The supreme absolute truth has accepted his simple position as the keeper of the cows. Superficially, he is a mere coward boy, but let that coward boy who holds within him the power of controlling the whole universe be satisfied with us. We want to worship that Lord who has taken the humble position of the king of the cows. From this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, we can understand the position of the Lord's pastime at Govardhan. It is also described here that when the Vrajvasis worshipped him and engaged his sacrifice for his satisfaction, they saw Govardhan Hill as the supreme person, extending his hands, accepting the things offered to him and feeding himself. This is what happened. And he took all their sacrifice, huge mountains of ghee, milk, butter, preparations, consumed and accepted their sacrifice. Right? At that time, Krishna pointed out to them, you see, some of you weren't so, they weren't so persuaded by Krishna. They just went along with it because he was Krishna. See? You thought that Govardhan Hill was only a heap of stone. No, it is living. It is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is what Govardhan Hill is, in the form of the hill. Okay. At that time, Krishna revealed himself as Govardhan Hill and showed how it is also his extended self. According to authorities in our line, this is the Rupa Nuga Sampradaya. Our line. Radhakund is the extended self of Srimati Radharani. And Govardhan is the extended self of Krishna. Okay. And so we worship a stone from Govardhan Hill, a part of Giridhari, as a Giriraj Shila. As Krishna himself, Radha Giridhaju is here today. Mahaprabhu and Radha Giridhaju on the altar. So Krishna is himself here in the form of Giriraj. Yet so feeble is our ordinary vision that although Govardhan Shila is a part of the infinite, and therefore also infinite, to our material vision, it is only a piece of stone. This pastime shows that a thing may appear to be ordinary stone, but its possibility is infinite. In the general sense, Einstein's theory of relativity has announced that anything we see is that thing plus something more. In his own scientific way, he explains that the reality of a thing includes its possibilities, its prospect. Reality is not at a standstill. Reality is not limited to what is seen or conceived by our own senses. Our vision or estimation of anything may be limited, but unknown to us, its prospect may be unlimited. Everything has infinite possibility. We do not even know what infinite possibility a particle of sand may have. We do not know what sort of possibility may exist within a leaf of a plant. It may be ordinary, but it may contain invaluable medicinal properties. It's given this understanding so we can try to comprehend. A part of the infinite is also infinite. The Govardhan Shila represents Krishna as the master and keeper of cows. That's what it represents. The master and keeper of cows. That's what the Govardhan Shila represents. This is why the cows are so important. Why we worship the cows, because Shila, they're in the Shila. That's why Mahaprabhu himself, as I explained earlier, went amongst the cows when he is in that in that highest form of bhava, that highest ecstasy, and completely unconscious, relishing the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, and he's withdrawn himself into the tortoise, his limbs. He's not an ordinary body like ours. He's come as a devotee. The Supreme Lord is a devotee. And he's withdrawn his limbs into his body, that highest form of bhava, which we cannot understand. But it shows the importance, even in Chaitanya Leela, the importance of the cows. Within Govardhan is that mild and soft conception of God, the beautiful. We beg for his mercy, his affection, and his gracious glance upon us. Hare Krishna, you're not staying? Okay, Hare Krishna.
No, because of the New Year, we all are busy with, going to our friends.
Yes.
And to stay.
Okay, Dandavas.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavas to you. Thank you for coming. But take a little of prasadam.
We are next door neighbor.
Yes.
Yeah, 184.
All right.
Yeah, behind the bus stop.
Okay. Oh, very good.
But working full time.
Yes.
It's difficult to come to all days.
Yes.
So whenever we find.
Right.
Particularly, this is festival.
Yes.
Diwali.
Yes.
So we have a day off. And particularly, this is the nearest place to us.
Yes.
To say hello to Krishna.
Yes.
And we all Hindus, Krishna is ultimate God for we all,
Yes.
And there are so many branches, we can say, tree has got so many sects about Krishna, has got, Vaishnava, this and that. But end of the day, all the river go to person
Yes.
of the ultimate God. That's
Yes.
what he is.
Yes.
But
Well, come anytime you want. You're most welcome.
obviously,
We'd be honored to have your presence.
this is the sacred place nearest to us,
Yes.
So obviously it's our privilege to be here.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, within Govardhan is that mild and soft conception of God the beautiful. We beg for his mercy, his affection, and his gracious glance upon us. That may save us from the negative influence of this material environment. When we try to put a stop to our material form of life and take our course towards Godhead, Krishna consciousness, neglecting the imperative duties that are upon us, so many difficulties may come to trouble us, to trap us in our journey towards the ultimate truth. But if we stick to the order of Krishna, he will protect us. Krishna confirms this in Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dhammam parityajya mamekam sharan raja Tam Sava Pabebhyo Mokshayishami Mashuchaha. Abandon all the conceptions of duty and just surrender unto me. Have no fear, I shall protect you and free you from all sinful reactions that may arise from neglecting your ordinary duties. Different material tendencies and mental impulses may attack us. Even Indra himself, the king of heaven, and the control of the ordinary activities may attack us. But if we are attentive towards our goal, if we are careful to read the order of Krishna, he will protect us in the shade of his lotus feet. He will give us shelter under the shade of Govardhan hill, where no Indra will be able to touch our heads. With full faith that Krishna will give us protection, we should try to take shelter under Govardhan hill and pray. O Krishna, give me protection from the difficulties that may come to attack me because of my leaving behind my ordinary obligations. Although many anomalies may try to catch us, Krishna will protect us. And in his representation as Govardhan hill, that wonderful master of the cows will save us from all sorts of difficulties. How is this possible? God works wonders. His ways are unknown and inconceivable. Okay? So, what further can we say about this? Krishna is the significance of Govardhan for our mott. Of all the motts in our mission, where you stay. For me, Gurudev wanted Westerners particularly to stay at Govardhan and not Vrindavan. Okay? And it was misunderstood. It is from there that Krishna dances with Radharani. Sometimes in the Leela, but at night they go to Radhakund. Radharani's abode. And all the other Sakis, but maybe not Lalita, but many of even the older Manjaris have to retreat and come back to Govardhan. And maybe one or two of the very younger girls who are more innocent can stay for this most highest rasa dance. Because he performs rasa dances in many places. They all have their own significance. Right? It's a place of unbelievable pastimes. But we, given our situation, it's the motto, really. There's two mottos. There's one on the logo of the motto, but there's another one, which we see in Navadvip when we walk into the mandir. And also, it's repeated. Matala Harijana Kitanarange Pujala Raga Pata Gaurava Bange. You must remember this at all times in our Krishna conscious activities. I'm preaching to myself here also. Okay? I'm repeating this a lot recently because I'm finding people must be humble. Like you saw Guru Maharaj, Gurudev was that songbook. Oh yeah, the songbook. And Gurudev is, if he is saying this, Shri Giriraju is eternally manifested as both the worshipful Lord and servitor. This fallen servant sees the artist Shri Giriraj with great ecstasy. If he considers himself a fallen servant, what of us? Yeah, we must be humble. We must be, try to grasp that mood about Gurudev. Because that's a safe position. Through Guru, we will see, and nobody else. We must have that kind of humility. We have to try to cultivate it. We shouldn't feign it to try to affect, we should actually mean it. So what does that mean? It means that we worship the spontaneous, affectionate love in surrender service of Ragamarg from a distance. We ourselves are to worship it from afar, while being within the Vedic regulations, Vedic mark. That's how we have to approach. We should never lose sight of it. And when I look at Govardhan today, what Srila Govinda Maharaj manifested, and through one particular servitor there, two servitors actually, whose names shall remain names, so if they would watch it, they wouldn't want to embarrass them, because they consider themselves not very significant. You walk into Govardhan, I'm walking Govardhan, it's like walking into a paradise. So green and luxurious. We're going to Goshala there now, cows, finally, and vegetable gardens, and flowers and stuff. There's nothing like it in Govardhan, in any mutt or any temple. And it's Srila Govinda Maharaj empowering his devotees to manifest that. And also Srila Acharya Maharaj manifesting. And I can see that it's real. Govardhan is real. What we just read about is real. And the pastimes, that's why he's given us the opportunity to stay. If you want to stay in Vrindavan. No, it's Govardhan. It's Govardhan, it's that separation from the high Leela. You can experience that separation from that high Leela. It goes on at Radhakund at night, which we are not allowed to enter. We don't dare enter it. We're being given permission to stay at Govardhan. Understand? Govardhan. But the consciousness of what that is. And so we are very fortunate. When I first heard about, introduced to the pastimes of Govardhan Puja, and I didn't understand any of these things when I was in ISKCON or whatever. But it's so extremely high. Perhaps it's the highest. That possibility, that prospect. I don't know. And Krishna, read one thing further from you, how he brings about the understanding of wait a minute. I've lost. Yes?
At 1:30 RT?
Yes, that's what was said. Yes, I will stick to that. I could explain it to you, but we wish we could at 1666. So, how Krishna persuades his friends. Yeah, okay. So, when Krishna asks him, why are you performing these sacrifices? Why are you why he wants to know that Krishna says, asking his father, Nanda Maharaj. All persons that are engaged in fruitive activities and they know the result, and some execute activities without knowing the purpose of the result. He's describing what sacrifices to the demigods, karma yoga. The person who acts in full knowledge gets the full result, One who acts without knowledge does not get such a perfect result. Therefore, please let me know the purpose of the sacrifice which you are going to perform. Is it called a Vedic injunction, or is it simply a popular ceremony? Can you let me know in detail about this sacrifice, please? So he's asking to his son innocently, Maharaj Nanda replies, my dear boy, this ceremonial performance is more or less traditional, because rainfall is due to the mercy of King Indra, and the clouds are his representatives. Because water is so important for our living, you must show some gratitude to the controller of this rainfall, Maharaj Indra. We are arranging, therefore, to pacify King Indra, because he has very kindly sent us clouds to pour down sufficient quantity of rain for successful agricultural activities. Water is very important. Without rainfall, we cannot farm or produce grains. We cannot live if there is no rainfall. It is necessary for successful religious ceremonies, economic development, and ultimate liberation. Karma, Artha, Moksha, Karma, Dharma, Artha, Moksha, and the Vedic things. Therefore, we should not give up the traditional ceremonial function. If one gives it up, being influenced by lust, greed, or fear, then it does not look very good for him. After hearing this, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the presence of his father and all the cowherd men of Vrindavan, spoke in such a way as to make heavenly King Indra very angry. This is going back to what we said earlier, but it's more detailed. He suggested that they forego the sacrifice. His reasons for discouraging the sacrifice performed to please Indra were twofold. First, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, there is no need to worship the demigods for any material advancement. All results derived from the worship of demigods are simply temporary, and only those who are less intelligent are interested in the temporary results. Whoa, he's preaching this to them, and Indra's hearing this. What? That's Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 20 to 23. This is what it's based upon. Secondly, whatever temporary result one deserves from worshipping the demigods is actually granted by the permission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is clearly stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Mayaiva Vihitan Ihitan. That's from text 22 of chapter 7. Whatever benefit is supposed to be derived from the demigods is actually bestowed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without the permission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot bestow any benefit upon others. Sometimes the demigods become puffed up by the influence of material nature, thinking themselves as all in all. And they try to forget the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they try to forget the supremacy. So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is clearly stated that in this instant Krishna wanted to make King Indra angry, wanted to make him angry. Krishna's advent was especially meant for the annihilation of the demons, protection of the devotees. King Indra was certainly a devotee, not a demon. But because he was puffed up, Krishna wanted to teach him a lesson. He first tried to make Indra angry by stopping the Indra Puja, which was arranged by the cowherd men in Vrindavan. So this is one aspect of the Leela. Then you can see also that they rely on Krishna and embrace his full surrender, embrace the Lord's guardianship and protection. That aspect of Sharanagati is there. But how do you go about it? How do you persuade them? This is very revealing. With this purpose in mind, Krishna began to talk as if he were an atheist. Krishna is a trickster, supporting the philosophy of karma mimamsa, which is an atheist philosophy. Right? Advocates of this type of philosophy do not accept the supreme authority of the personality of Godhead. They put forward the argument that if anyone works nicely, the result is sure to come. Karma yoga. Their opinion is that even if there's lower than karma yoga, this actually, karma mimamsa. Their opinion is that even if there is a God who gives man the result of his fruitive activities, there is no need to worship him, because unless man works, he cannot bestow any good result. It's through our own efforts, see? God provides everything, really? No, we have to work. We get it. They say that instead of worshipping a demigod or God, people should give attention to their own duties, and thus the good result will surely come. Now Krishna began to speak to his father according to these principles of karma mimamsa philosophy. My dear father, he said, I don't think you need to worship any demigod for the successful performance of your agricultural activities. Just do it to ourselves. This is how he persuades them. Extraordinary. Every living being is born according to his past karma and leaves this life simply by taking the result of his present karma. Everyone is born in different types of species of life according to his past activities. And he gets the next birth according to the activities of this life. Different grades of material happiness and distress, comforts and disadvantages of life are different results of different kinds of activities either from the past or present life. They countered back, arguing that without honouring the particular demigod there would be a problem. But eventually they gave in to Krishna's arguments. These arguments are extraordinary. He's arguing like an atheist to persuade them. He's not saying, oh, this is, we must worship the Supreme Lord. No, he's pointed that out, yes. But he's arguing from an atheist point of view to persuade them to give up their demigod worship, their worship to Lord Indra. So I'll continue, it's fascinating. So Maharaj Nanda argues, it is sometimes found that in spite of first-class medical... Oh no, this is Swami Maharaj's explanation. It's found that sometimes, in spite of first-class medical help and treatment by a first-class physician, a diseased person dies. Right? It is clearly therefore that the first-class medical treatment or the attempts of a first-class physician are not themselves the cause of curing a patient. There must be a hand of the Supreme Personality of Godhead behind it. So worshipping demigods, he's drawing an analogy. If you worship a demigod, you may not get the result. You still die. Similarly, a fathers and mothers taking care of their children is not the cause of the children's comfort. Sometimes it is found that in spite of all care by the parents, the children go bad or succumb to death. Therefore, material causes are not sufficient for results. There must be sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nanda Maharaj therefore advocated that in order to get good results for agricultural activities, they must satisfy Indra, the superintendent of the demigods. Lord Krishna nullified this argument, saying that demigods give results only to persons who have executed their prescribed duties. The demigods cannot give any good results to the person who has not executed prescribed duties. Therefore, demigods are dependent on the execution of duties and not absolute in awarding good results to anyone. This is the explanation. Okay? So he's arguing as an atheist. Then he switches to the Bhagavad Gita arguments again. You see? He tricks everybody. Okay, Dandavats. Jai Shai Shri Govardhan Puja ki jai, Jai Shri Giri Raju ki jai, Jai Shri Guru Garanga Rari Giri Raju ki jai, Jai Shri Bhakti Sandhya Swami Raju ki jai, Jai Shri Bhakti Nirmala Charan Raju ki jai, Jai. Go Prabhanande Hari Bol Jai.
Mayogi Prabhu Maharaj ki jai.
Jai, devotees ki jai. Wonderful, huh?
Shall I ring the song?
Yes. Switch it off.
Very nice.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, and reading you explain so much more. Okay, Arti now. Peter.
It's good when we agree to leave. It's a good thing. We agree to leave it. You're sitting on
No.
the pill station.
I was asking, humbly.
They get done. We leave Tulasi here, right?
I noticed that song about Guru. How should I go in much? Has literally got it's got the history of our temple and all the devotees that are significant.
Raja Shri Krishna
Shifu Kuranga, Lara Kirigari Muki